I will still never sell all of my XCN, and even though that's not financial advice, here's the reason why. Now, first of all, the way you take a look at it is that in the past, historically, we've seen many projects out there do very good, and then, of course, there's a bear market that follows. The price drops by a lot, but then they never really return to the low levels in which we've seen them before. And when it comes to something like XCN, granted, it hasn't really proven that it could hypothetically go to the price of 50 cents or even a dollar. But I think that, let's say it does go to the price of a dollar during a fully fledged bull run, and of course, eventually there's going to be a bear market, and let's say it goes down, I don't think that we could very well see the levels in which we see as of right now, which is why I'm never going to be selling all completely. Even though, of course, there's going to be a time to exit, I'm totally aware of that, or not, what's the point really? But then the way you take a look at it is that, of course, again, there's a point to exit, but I'll never exit completely because I believe in its future. XCN isn't some random microcap meme coin in which we don't know if they're going to be around, let's say, the next cycle or even after this bull run again. But the way to take a look at it is that XCN doesn't feel that way. Take a look at XCN having a major pump. Of course, there was a pullback. Now the recovery is pretty good. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's pretty good compared to the bottom. So the way to take a look at it is that it's been proven to really go along with the ride. Arguably, when the market does do pretty good, so when the market does go up again, I think this is going to be something that really does go along with the ride again. Now, let's take a look at, again, historically. Take a look at Cardano's native token called ADA. At one point, the price was around 3 cents. Went to over the price of $2. And then, of course, there was a pullback. It's never going to reach the price of 3 cents ever again, in my opinion. It didn't reach it back then during the bear market. And I don't think it's going to reach it ever again, maybe in history. Take a look at Bitcoin. Is it ever going to go to the price of $100 again? I highly doubt that, let alone maybe even like 10,000. I really just don't see that. But even besides that point, when it comes to XCN, let's say it goes to the price of $1. There's a major pullback. Can it go to the price of 5 cents ever again? Probably not, which is why I'm still going to be holding, because even 5 cents is more than what we're seeing as of right now. Now, why could XCN really do well, in my opinion? It's because people naturally, they love Ripple, aka XRP, and Stellar, aka XLM. And don't get me wrong, I love that too. But then there's something called the Onyx protocol, in which XCN is the native token of that. And naturally, some of the hype and attention is going to flow over into something like XCN, in my opinion, because naturally people love options. If people only loved like one or two options, then there would be no other meme coins that really do well other than Dogecoin or Shiba Inu. But that's not true, right? We take a look at Pepe doing well. Book of Meme historically did pretty good, even though it had a big pullback. Not to mention, of course, a bunch of other meme coins, but I'm just using an example here. People love options. And naturally, I think some people, when they take a look at XLM, when they take a look at something like XRP, where it might not be able to do the type of numbers in terms of percentage price increase that something like XCN could hypothetically do, which is why I think sometimes people want to look for something else. And personally for me, even though I believe in something like XRP and XLM, I believe that's more so of a foundational piece. But then, of course, I also want to take hypothetically a little bit more risk elsewhere because, I'm not putting in like $10 million or something like that where it does a 2x and I'm good. That's not the case. So, of course, hypothetically, I want to look for pretty good upside while at the same time not jumping into some random microcap. What is a happy medium in between? I think something like XCN. And the amazing thing is that XCN hasn't reached like a $1 billion market cap or something like that. So then the way I view it is that this is still, relatively speaking, kind of an underrated project in the grand scheme of things when you consider how XRP currently has a market cap that is well beyond $100 billion. Not to mention, we have to take a look at, there is going to be room for a lot of people to eat here, in my opinion. And that's just figure of speech. But what I mean by that is that I don't think the market is oversaturated when it comes to these projects that are focused on global trade and finance or the payments market. I mean, the payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion. The global trade and finance market is predicted to reach up to $5 trillion in value by 2028, according to Mordor Intelligence. I think there's going to be room for XRP to do well, XLM, but I think naturally also other options, like for instance, XDC, and in this case, XCN. And also in some other cases, we take a look at ZBCN, XPR Swift Coin. There's going to be room there. I don't think it's only going to be just one project. Even though there's going to be a large dominating force, much like XRP, I think there's, of course, naturally going to be other ones that do go along with the ride. Now, here's the thing as well. some people like to argue and they tell me that, hey, XCN, because it had a major pullback, now people are traumatized. Now people don't believe in this anymore. The way to take a look at it is this. I kind of find that as not a very strong argument. The reason is because we take a look at Luna Classic. Had a really big dump. Of course, we all know that historically. And then that even found a bottom and had a pretty good recovery in the grand scheme of things. Not, of course, compared to the heights it was before, but compared to the bottom. Again, were people traumatized of that? I mean, there was a bunch of other projects people could believe in, right? But then still, we saw Luna Classic still have a pretty good recovery. Take a look at Bitcoin. When Bitcoin had that bear market, did it lose trust in a lot of people? Arguably in some cases, but take a look at the recovery. Again, sometimes people don't really care about these major dumps because we're not taking a look at the S&P 500 here. We're taking a look at cryptocurrencies. Naturally, I'm totally aware that there's going to be hypothetically more risk, which is why, I'm totally aware that, hey, you know what? Things can go up hypothetically kind of fast in some cases, but they can also go down. And I think other people sometimes know that too. So I don't think that big dump is like a traumatizing factor, at least arguably for many people that I know. But even besides that, I'm still believing in XCN because the way you take a look at Onyx is that they have a lot in the pipeline, in a sense that they have a lot in the works. We have to take a look at in Q3 of this year. No exact date, but again, in Q3 of this year, or should I say at least that I know of, but again, around that time, they're planning to launch the testnet of Goliath when it comes to Onyx. That's good news in my opinion. I think, when people talk about the wallet, which I've talked about as well, I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for Onyx because a lot of projects out there have a wallet, even though we'll have to wait and see for what the wallet could eventually bring in the future when it comes to Onyx. But again, only time will tell. That's a good addition. But in my opinion, the real McCoy is going to be Goliath. And again, granted, if it's just a test that there's not much we can really, tell from that in my opinion, but it doesn't really matter because people love the narrative. They love the story. They love the idea of what something could hypothetically be. And the way you take a look at it is that, let's say the market starts picking up again, like what we're seeing as of right now. Let's say it continues to July, let's say August, September. And let's say somewhere along that timeline, they launch the testnet of Goliath. Could you imagine what that could do for something like XCN? It could hypothetically be amazing, but only time will tell because the way you take a look at it is that if a project has a lot of hype, has a lot of fans, which this one does, and let's say the market is doing good, and naturally, hypothetically, we take a look at the native token, hypothetically, going along with the ride, and then the project launches something, it doesn't even have to be that great. That's a perfect recipe in my opinion. I'm not going to give up when it comes to XCN, even if we take a look at the price of $1, considering current circulating supply, around $33 billion market cap, around a 55x from here. So the way you take a look at it is that it's just a waiting game as of right now. This doesn't seem that crazy. And the market is going to wake up again, hypothetically, at least from what I believe in. But again, only time will tell. Now, some people may be thinking that, okay, we have to wait for this confirmation on this price chart. But the way you take a look at it is that, let's say I pull up a price chart, I draw some random triangles. It doesn't matter what I draw because the market is going to do what it's going to do. I can try to chart it, try to study technical analysis, but again, the market is going to do what it's going to do. It doesn't care what I draw on a price chart. You know what I mean? So instead of pulling up a price chart, drawing some random triangles, not talking about what the project is about, not talking about the fundamentals, not talking about what's upcoming, not even considering much factors really other than the price chart, that's not what I do. And again, $1 for XCN, only time will tell, but man, I'm very excited. And sometime near the end of this year, hypothetically, the way things are heading, I think it could be maybe very special, which is why I'm still staying patient and I'm not giving up. And of course, there's going to be time to exit, in my opinion, hypothetically, when it comes to XCN, but I'm never going to be exiting completely because I believe that this is going to be a project that's going to stick around for many years to come. And I'm very bullish on it and I'm not giving up. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.